What we have here is Orson Welles' nose. Now, Welles didn't like this nose much, so his makeup man used plaster castings like this one to sculpt artificial noses that were more to his liking and were more useful to his needs as an actor. Heroic characters need heroic noses, grotesque characters, grotesque noses.
In most of the films that I appear in, I put on a false nose, usually as large as I can find.
Welles often said he fell into the category of what used to be called a king actor. And a king somehow doesn't look right with a nose that's upturned and cute. And it was cute, it just wasn't kingly. But the art of prosthetic makeup allowed him to wear whatever sort of nose he wanted. From the noble, aquiline one of patrician Charles Foster Kane in Citizen Kane, to the broken pugilist nose of brutal cop Hank Quinlan in Touch of Evil. In fact, any kind of nose that struck his fancy, as long as it wasn't his own. Well, I think from the inside out is one way. Those are the two schools, aren't they? He's either going from a complicated sort of sense memory, or he's going from the outside in. Theoretically, those are the two schools. But really, I think the people who pretend to do either are doing both.
We have heard the chimes at midnight, Master Robert Shelley.
And I think it's desirable to have both. Welles started out not knowing whether he was going to be an illustrator or an actor or a musician or a director or what. And the illustrator side of him, I think, took a very prominent role in his approach to creating a character, in that he wanted to look like the characters he was portraying.
Why not? I'm a charlatan.
Juvenile roles didn't appeal to him, right? He was vocally very versatile.
Put out the light, and then put out the light. I will incontinently drown myself. Oh, villainous. What should I do?
He wanted to, look like the characters that he wanted to sound like, right?
Can thy former light relume?
Othello.
Hi, Desdemona.
Almost none of the parts he wanted to play had noses like he had. That little button of his was something he fixated upon and never grew out of, right? Even when he was in his 50s and 60s, he had what he called the face of a depraved baby. So, Orson became associated with fake rubber noses. Courtesy of his great movie Discovery, Maurice Siderman, who became an ally of his through life. Welles saw his promise because Siderman was sort of a mad inventor doing plastic prosthetic work in the lab.
If I don't get that goose liver, I'm going home.
Well, how about a nice big cut of roast beef? Or maybe a hot stuffed turkey?
Goose liver.
Another man who became a great ally of his was the actor Akim Tamiroff. He had been a member of the celebrated Stanislavski theatrical troupe, and he was himself acknowledged as a great makeup man. So, Tamiroff unites the two schools of acting in one figure, being an interior method actor and an exterior makeup guy. No wonder Welles bonded with him and kept casting him, and just liked having him around.
And who are you? Santa Claus?
Welles looked in the mirror and saw a different character, and if it convinced him, it tended to convince the audience. Look at the job Siderman did for him on Touch of Evil. I think that's one of the best noses he had, one of the best characters physically he had, and I think it was one of his best performances, and I contend that was as a result. In fact, Tamaroff, who was in that film acting with him, looked at him and said, "You're the man."
A big important man like this, there's something he shouldn't do.
And if Wells gained confidence from a great makeup, we can see the opposite possibly being true in Mr. Arkadin.
In Georgian toast, the little story always comes first.
He was meant to be playing a haunted character, which Wells did very well without noses. Look at Lady from Shanghai, for instance. But he was also playing a character of great power. There was a lack of confidence, I feel, in that performance, which I suspect did come from looking in the mirror and seeing something that wasn't quite up to his expectations.
You see, I promised you this was poetic.
Wells' great acting hero was John Barrymore, a more dashing figure than Wells physically. But despite his matinee idol looks, Barrymore was every bit as addicted to the makeup box. And if you look at Barrymore's desire to change his nose in character parts, it comes from precisely the same place as Wells did, because Barrymore started out as a cartoonist himself. He didn't want to be an actor. And I think that Wells, when he compared his nose to Barrymore, had a definite proboscis envy. Certainly he attempted a Barrymore role for his first screen test, playing Oscar Jaffe from 20th Century.
Nero cringes. And the last we see of you.
With, shall we say, great enthusiasm.
Tell me, have I reached the artist in you?
He acted with his own nose in Othello. He certainly was a wonderfully noble Othello with nothing but a change in skin tone and hair.
Men should be what they seem.
Certain men should be what they seem. Come, sing me a bawdy song to make me merry.
But Wells could pull off his transformations even on a budget without the genius of Siderman to help him, as he did in Chimes at Midnight. Wells often said that he wanted to make his actors feel not only confident but arrogant. That was something he tried to instill in them, and you sense a sort of projection there, because he had to feel that, to free himself up, to be the character.
He does it just like one of these harlotry players as ever I see.
Go.
It's a great-looking character, and it doesn't matter that it's a putty nose that changes from scene to scene and sometimes shot to shot. It's still the same character.
Let's drink to character.